Guys, Mr. Bowman here. This is our second video going through our mid-year exam. Just to recap, we've looked at the algebra skills section, so check out the video for that if you haven't seen it already. We're now going to start looking at the algebra solving section. And the key thing here is you must, getting the pen going, you must show you're working to be awarded any marks. Occasionally, some questions I gave you the mark if you didn't do that, but if you didn't show you're working, you probably weren't getting any marks. So first question, nice easy one to get us going. The A is on the left-hand side. We need to get rid of that times 3. Opposite of times 3 is divide by 3. So those 3's are going to cancel each other out. Because we've done it to one side, we've got to do it to the other side. So that means A will be equal to -7. And that was there, achieved only, you either got it or you didn't. So this next question, there were two approaches taken by people, and I'll just highlight the two approaches. So first step, you could have divided by 10 initially to unlock the brackets. So that means B plus 5 was equal to 8. You then done -5 minus 5, B is equal to 3. If you did that approach, all good, you're going to get full marks. You might have actually expanded the brackets. So you might have gone 10B plus 50 equals 80. You then might have done -50 minus 50. So that means 10B is equal to 30. And then divide by 10, B also getting you to 3. So no matter which way you did it, you were going to get to the same answer as well. As long as you showed me working, you're going to be given your achieved mark for that one there. So scrolling down, we're now up to question C. A good observation to make is there's that invisible set of brackets. So if you tried to move that 5 first, you weren't going to have a good time. So divide by 6, we need to get rid of. Opposite of divide by 6 is times 6. So I'm going to go times 6 times 6. So 5C is equal to 60. I'm then going to go divide by 5. That gets rid of the times 5. C equals 12. So well done if you got that. Achieved if you showed me you're working and you got C equals 12 as well. We're now on to 4. And what makes this question a bit different is we've got letters on both sides of the equal sign. So the equal side's down the middle there. We've got 3D on the left, -9D on the right. And the strategy this is we've got to simplify first. And we do that by getting rid of the smallest amount of the letters, in which case is our -9. That minus number is always going to be smaller than that positive one over there. So get rid of that -9D. We're going to go plus 9D. And I'm going to do the same to the other side as well. So that means 12D plus 11 equals -1. I'm then going to go -11. 12D equals -12. I'm then going to go divide by 12. D will be equal to -1. So again, well done. That was worth an achieved. You had to show me working to get those marks here. So question 5, this is a quadratic. It's already factorized and it's already equal to 0. So it's got those two conditions we've talked about. So first bracket, we make that equal to 0. So if E plus 1 is equal to 0, the equation is correct. And then the same for the second bracket, E minus 4, that's got to be equal to 0. We then solve, we're going to go -1. So our first answer, E1 is equal to -1. We're then going to go plus 4. So our second answer of E is going to be equal to +4. If you got me both of those, you got an achieved mark. I was a bit flexible with working here because you can actually just look at the brackets and get the answer. So sometimes working is not needed as well. So that's question 5. We're now scrolling down to question 6. Let me actually double click this to make it more flowy, I suppose we'll call it. And another quadratic because of that x squared or f squared, but the issue is it's not factorized at this time. So we need to factorize, then go ahead and solve. So we're trying to think what numbers multiply to -12, add to -4. I'm thinking it's going to be -6 and +2. So that's going to form my bracket. So I'm going to go f minus 6, f plus 2, that there's equal to 0. My first bracket will reveal the first answer. So if f minus 6 is equal to 0, we're going to be going +6 plus 6, which means f1 equals to +6. We then do the same with our second half. If f plus 2 equals 0, that's an answer minus 2, minus 2. So our second F2 is equal to negative 2. If you got me both answers, you got achieved. So well done on that one. We're now up to question 7. So question 7, firstly, G and G. So there's no quadratic nature here. It's just a messy linear equation. And we're going to basically cross multiply to get rid of that. So to get rid of this divide by 2, we're going to have to go times 2 times 2. And they cancel each other out there. To get rid of this divide by 5, we're going to go times 5 times 5. And then those 5s cancel each other out. So that leaves us with 2, and then in brackets 3G plus 12. And just a reminder, that's because they're invisible brackets on the top of those. And that's going to be equal to 5 times G plus 6. We then expand. 2 times G is 6G. 2 times 12 is plus 24. That's going to be equal to 5 times G, which is 5G, and that times that, which is 30. And we've got letters on both sides. All of a sudden, it looks a bit like that question we saw earlier. So let's simplify that. We're going to get rid of the smallest amount of G's, which is the 5 over there. So we're going to go minus 5G, minus 5G. So that means G plus 24 is equal to 30. We're then going to finish off. We've got the G by itself now, so that's really good. We're now going to finish up by getting rid of that minus 24. So minus 24, minus 24. G therefore comes to 6. So well done. If you got all the way to the end, you got a merit. If you showed me some of the skills up the top, the expanding and the grouping of the terms, you might have got an achieved mark if your teacher felt a bit of pity on you and you showed enough skills to do that. So that was question 7. We're now looking at question 8. And question 8 was pretty poorly done from the ones I marked. And the key thing is h squared makes it a quadratic. So quadratics need to be factorized and they need to be equal to 0. So let's go minus 25 to get rid of that 25 there, and minus 25. So that's going to leave 4h squared minus 25 equals 0. And just noting, 4h squared is a square number, so is this 25. This is actually a difference between two squares. So the square root of 4h squared is equal to 2h, and the square root of 25 is equal to 5. So that means our brackets are going to be 2h minus 5, 2h plus 5. That there is going to come to 0. Our first bracket, we're going to solve that. 2h minus 5 is equal to 0. We're going to go plus 5 plus 5. 2h equals 5. Then divide by 2, divide by 2. H is equal to 5 over 2. That's my first answer. I'm then going to do my second one. I'm just going to move it over to the side here. 2h plus 5 equals 0. Minus 5 minus 5. 2h equals minus 5. Divide by 2, divide by 2. Our second answer of h is negative 5 divided by 2. So if you got both of those answers, they got you to a merit. They're just noting, I'm going to just draw a line actually to divide it up. There was actually an alternate method to solving this. So 4h squared equals to 25. And a few people did go astray doing this. So h squared equals 25 over 4. H is equal to plus or minus the square root of 25 over 4. This plus or minus bit is key because just a reminder, when you're square rooting, for example, the square root of 9 is equal to 3 or negative 3. And we note that by doing plus or minus over there. So that's going to be h is equal to plus or minus 5 over 2, which means h1 was equal to 5 over 2 and h2 was equal to negative 5 over 2. If you got me the single 5 over 2, I felt a bit of pity on you and I gave you that achieved mark anyway. But technically that is wrong. You've missed one of the two answers because of that square number. So hopefully that makes sense. Now moving on to question 9. So I guess the observation to make, I times I would be I squared. So it's probably going to be a quadratic. It's already factorized, but it's not equal to 0. So I'm going to have to unfactorize or expand. I'm going to have to move the negative 6 to the other side. So let's expand. 2i times I is going to be 2i squared plus 7i equals negative 6. I'm then going to go plus 6 plus 6. So that means 2i squared plus 7i plus 6 is going to be equal to 0. I now need to factorize. The issue being that 2 there, I'm going to need to multiply the 2 and the 6 together. So that's going to be 6 times 2 gets me to 12. I now need to think what numbers multiply to that 12 but add to that 7. And hopefully you've got it, 3 and 4. We'll do that. I'm going to carry on over here. I'm going to finish up with my grouping method. 2i squared plus 4i plus 3i plus 6 is equal to 0. Just noting that 3 and 4 makes that 3i and 4i happening up there. Okay, we're now going to factorize the first bit. That becomes 2i and then I plus 2 and then plus, they've got a 3 in common. That's going to be I plus 2 equals 0. I'm liking this because you can see those brackets are the same, which means I haven't made any mistakes with my answer. So the first bracket, which is the one they have in common, 2i, or I plus 2, and then the leftover bits, 2i plus 3 equals 0. We can go ahead and solve. So if I plus 2 equals 0, we have an answer. So we're going to go minus 2, minus 2. So our first answer for I is negative 2. We're now going to do the same for the second bit. 2i plus 3 equals 0. We're going to go minus 3, minus 3. 2i equals negative 3. Divide by 2, divide by 2. That means I is negative 3 over 2. And that's our second answer for I. If you got both of those for me, that there was a merit. Very nasty question in the end because of that grouping method, but we got to the answer eventually. So we've done that. We're now moving on to that big nasty excellence question that a few of us did struggle with, but it was terribly messy. And I guess the first step was we've got a fraction and we're adding those fractions. So we've got to do that crisscross smiley face method to go ahead and solve for that. So bottom times bottom is going to be x plus 3, 2x plus 5. And then we do the cross multiplying, so that's going to be 3 lots of 2x plus 5, and the other way, plus 5 lots of x plus 3. All of that there comes to positive 2. I'm now going to simplify that top part. I could expand the bottom bit, but at the moment I just want to leave it in a factorized form in case I can cancel something out later on. But let's expand the top. So we've got 3 times 2x, that's going to be 6x, and then 3 times 5 is 15. We've then got 5 times x plus 5x, and then plus 15 over here. All of that is divided by x plus 3, 2x plus 5. That there is equal to 2. Now I'm going to simplify that top line. That gets me to 11x plus 30 over x plus 3, 2x plus 5. All of that comes to 2. So the top bit there, that doesn't look like it can be factorized. So I can't just cancel stuff out here. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to move these brackets over to the other side as division. So that's going to become, oh sorry, it's currently division. I'm going to move it over as multiplication actually. So that's 11x plus 30, that's going to be equal to 2 lots of these brackets that are moving over as a multiplication. Again, there's nothing really for me to cancel out, so my only choice is now to go ahead and expand that bracket. I'm going to expand the first lot first, just to make it easier on myself. So 11x plus 30 is going to be equal to 2x plus 6, 2x plus 5. We can then expand the bracket a bit more. So we've got 11x plus 30 is equal to 4x squared plus 10x plus 12x plus 30. Just noting those 30s are going to cancel each other out. That leaves 11x is equal to 4x squared plus 22x. Gosh, long question. I've run out of room, but let's move to the other side up here. I'm just going to move everything to one side because remember, I'm looking for factorized and equal to 0 because it's a quadratic. So I'm going to go minus 11x. So 0 is equal to 4x squared plus 11x. I'm then factorizing. This is a single bracket. They've got an x in common, which makes 4x plus 11 after that. I've now got my two parts. So here's my first bit. If x1, or if x is equal to 0, that's an answer. So x1 will be equal to 0. And the same with this bit. So if 4x plus 11 equals 0, we've got an answer. So we're going to go minus 11, minus 11. Minus 11, minus 11. So 4x equals negative 11. Divide by 4, divide by 4. x2 is equal to negative 11 over 4. If you got both of those answers, so 0 and negative 11 over 4, that's how you got an excellence mark. If you went through all of this process and made one mistake, just one mistake, that's when we gave you a merit mark. And if you were up top initially able to merge the fraction and do a bit of simplification within your equation, that's where you got an achieved mark from. So yeah, as I said, a very messy and complicated question. We got there in the end, but it is not pretty, not nice. Okay, so we've gone through the nice questions, and by the nice questions, I mean the questions where the equation is given to you. We're now going to move on to the harder questions, and that is when we're given a whole bunch of words and a bit of context to go ahead and solve that. And you can see we've got a few questions, some of them involving measurement as well. The first thing to note, if you read the bold instruction, for questions 11 to 14, you must form an equation, and you then must solve that equation. And the key thing is no algebra, no marks. You may have received pity from your teacher, and they might have given you a mark when you didn't show algebra, but formally, no algebra, no marks. So let's jump into question 11. So we've got a bag of chocolates. It's divided up. So keyword divided really refers to division between 8 members of a study group. If each member receives 4 chocolates, how many chocolates are in the bag? So what I'm going to say is, if x is the number of chocolates in the bag, I've divided that by 8 per the terminology. And when I divided that up, it was equal to 4 chocolates per person. So we formed our equation. This was essential to getting any marks, unless your teacher was feeling very generous when they marked it. To get rid of that divide by 8, I'm going to go times 8. I'm going to go times 8 over here as well, which means x was equal to 32 chocolates. You didn't need to write the context of the chocolates there. It's a habit you should get into, but if you told me 32, I was giving you your achieved mark. But do start adding in context as well. So we've got Mr. Park. He's thinking of 2 consecutive even numbers. And just a reminder, that would be stuff like 4 and then 6. 2 even numbers right next to each other. And to get from the 4 to 6, we've got to add 2. So if the first number is x, we're going to add x plus 2. X plus 2 representing the next number or the 6th in the sequence. These numbers sum. That's where we got the addition sign to 26. A few of us probably didn't read that properly and we're trying to multiply, but multiply would have been the product. So those there equal to 26. That means 2x plus 2 equals 26. That's my simplifying. I'm now going to solve minus 2 minus 2. So x or 2x equals 24. X equals 12. So if you got me x equals 12, that was your achieved mark because you formed and solved the equation. The only issue is you didn't actually answer the question using algebra. What are the 2 numbers? You haven't told me what the second number is. So the first number was equal to 12. The second number is going to be 2 more than that, which makes 14. So the second number is equal to 14. So we'll put the 1. But you did need some kind of reference to 12 and 14 to get that merit mark as well. And that's really, really important for contextual questions. You must actually answer the questions, not just solve for a random variable. So that was 12. We're now going to scroll up to question 13. So this was a prototype of an ice cream container. And this is an ellipse prism, which is an interesting shape I came across when I was coming up with the exam questions, and I thought, oh no, I'll throw that in. And we've been given the equation of that prism. So I'm just going to write it down below. Volume is equal to pi times A times B times H. We've been told some values, so we know that A was equal to 10, and we know that B was equal to 7. And we're trying to find out the height of this one here. So trying to find the height. If the product manager is looking for a volume of 1500, that's our last piece of the puzzle. Volume is equal to 1500. What height should the ice cream container be? So that's the unknown one we're trying to solve for. So notice here, there's 1, 2, 3 letters. Just a reminder, pi is a number, so that's not an unknown variable. We know exactly what that is. There's 4 letters. We know 3 of them, which means we can substitute and find out that one we don't know. So 1500 is equal to pi times 10 times 7 times height. That simplified, 1500 is equal to 70 pi times height. I'm going to go divide by 70 pi, divide by 70 pi. That means h is equal to 1500 divided by 70 pi. If you wanted to leave it in terms of pi, you could simplify that to 150 divided by 7 pi, or you could convert that to a decimal, which hopefully you got 6.82 our units centimeters, and that was rounded to 2 decimal points for that one there. So this question, if you got me that answer in either the pi or the decimal form, I gave you a merit mark. If you did the substitution correct up the top here, I gave you that achieved mark. So that's question 13, and we're now looking at what I think the hardest question of the exam was. We've got this lucky triangle, and we've been told that an equation. So we've got an equation already. We're going to substitute things in that we know. So let's start writing the equation. So the area is equal to 1/2 times the base times the height. Okay. I know the following about my lucky triangle. So I know the area. So A is going to be equal to 75. So I'm going to need to substitute that in. I know that the height is equal to x plus 1. And I'm going to put that in around in a bracket, just to be sure I don't make any bed mass errors. And I also know the base is going to be 3x minus 4. So there was the height, there was the base. And what I'm liking about these is I've got 3 variables, A, B, and H. If I substitute all of those in, the only variable I've left is x, which means I can go ahead and solve for that x value. So let's go ahead, let's put that all in. So the area, oops, I shouldn't write A, I should write 75 because I know exactly what that is. So 75 is equal to 1/2 times x plus 1 times 3x minus 4. I'm just going to start by simplifying the right-hand side. I can see a times 3 and a times 1/2, and then I can see 2 brackets. So 75 is equal to 3 over 2. That's the 3 and the 1/2 multiplying together. And that's going to be multiplied by x plus 1 and x minus 4. So if you didn't take this step here, it was going to be problematic for you to finish off that answer. I'm not sure why the other bits have disappeared. But there we go. I'm just going to cross this out because it's being a bit laggy on me. X minus 4. I'm now going to go ahead and solve. So I'm probably going to try and clean up the coefficient here. So I'm going to get rid of that divide by 2 first by doing times 2 times 2. So that means 150 is equal to 3 lots of x plus 1, x minus 4. I'm then going to get rid of the times 3 by doing divide by 3. Divide by 3. So 50 is equal to x plus 1, x minus 4. I'm now going to go ahead and solve. It's factorized already, but it's not equal to 0, so that's a problem. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to expand, undo the factorizing, and then shift over the 50 as well. So 50 is going to be equal to x squared minus 4x plus x minus 4. We're then going to do minus 50 minus 50. Just scroll down a little bit. Oh, no, I'm going to move my working up here. That means 0 is equal to x squared minus 3x minus 54. I'm now going to factorize. So I could have made this question harder by putting in a coefficient in front of the x, but it's just a regular expanding or a regular factorizing. We've got to think, what numbers multiply to negative 54, add to positive 3? Hopefully you're getting negative 9 and positive 6. So we go ahead and factorize x minus 9, x plus 6. We can go ahead and solve. Our first answer is equal to positive 9. Second answer, negative 6. And just noting, we're going to ignore this x2 because that is a negative number and we can't have a negative measurement when we're dealing with that. So we've gone ahead and solved. Just noting, several of us stopped at this stage. If you stopped at this stage, you were awarded a merit in our excellence question. And the reason being, you haven't actually answered the question again. You need to determine the base and the height of the lucky triangle. You've told me what x is, but you have not told me what the base and the height is. So I'm just going to do this. So the base of the triangle, that was 3x minus 4. We're going to put in that 9 we've calculated. So that's going to be 3, 9 minus 4, which is going to be 15 centimeters. We now need to do the same for the height. This one will be a bit easier. That's x plus 1. That's going to be 9 plus 1, which is equal to 10 centimeters. When you get to that last stage, that there is how you converted your merit to an excellence mark. It is a bit of a shame a few of us didn't do that because that was maybe the easiest step. But that's how it goes with these wordy contextual questions. If you miss that final step, it can be quite critical to your overall grade. So guys, what we've just done is we've just finished that. We can see part 3 popping over. So that there wraps up the algebra solving section that we've just started. We can see what we've done in the pink pen over here. And the key thing is, hopefully you're showing you're working. Hopefully you're not missing out on those easy marks at the end by answering the question itself. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Now make sure you update your exam for anything that you got wrong or anything you might have missed. And stay tuned for the next video, part 3. We're going to be going over algebra graphs.